Syrian President Bashar al-Assad was being interviewed by Charlie Rose for 60 minutes, and they got into a really interesting conversation about ISIS. Now, understand the context of this. ISIS is Sunni. They're fighting against Assad's government in Syria. Their whole point initially was to topple Assad's government. So Assad is completely against ISIS. Now, initially, we were thinking of bombing Assad. Okay, the reason is he's a dictator. About 200,000 people have died in that civil war. We're not in favor of his government, and we thought he'd cross the red line by using chemical weapons and biological weapons. Now, as it turned out, that situation got diffused, and we did not bomb Assad. But ISIS rose up fighting against Assad, and they grew so strong and so lethal and so horrible that we started bombing ISIS, which actually helps Assad, or is supposed to help Assad, because Assad is also fighting them. They're mainly trying to topple him. That's why this part of the interview is really, really interesting. So this guy should be happy that we're bombing ISIS, his mortal enemies. But he doesn't see it that way. Listen to what he says.
How much of a benefit are you getting from American airstrikes in Syria, reducing the power of ISIS?
Sometimes you could have local benefit. But in general, if you want to talk in terms of ISIS, actually ISIS has expanded since the beginning of the strikes. Not like some American wants to sugarcoat the situation as to say that it's getting better. ISIS has been defeated and so on. Actually, no. You have more recruits. Some estimates that they have 1,000 recruits every month in Syria and Iraq. They are expanding in Libya, and many other al-Qaeda affiliates organizations have announced their allegiance to ISIS.
Now, it's always hard to take a dictator with a lisp seriously, but okay, I'm going to get beyond that. Let's talk about the core of what he's saying here. Now, he has a vested interest, keep that in mind. He'd like the U.S. to help him more in fighting against ISIS. So he's basically saying, don't fight us. ISIS is out of control. Let's join forces in some way in fighting against ISIS. Okay, but if that's the case, well, wouldn't he want more bombings? But he's saying, no, the bombings aren't working. They're being counterproductive. So I think that actually is a legitimate point that Assad is making, and it's a really interesting one. He's the guy who wants ISIS defeated more than anyone else. Their number one goal is to topple him. And he's saying, okay, you think you're helping with the bombing, but you're not. It's actually leading to more recruits for ISIS. Now, this is interesting because I've talked to you before about counterinsurgency and how it's conducted and how this is not the right way. Because one of the things that an insurgency like ISIS wants is for you to overreact, bomb, not indiscriminately, but too broadly. You'll kill civilians and create more insurgents that come to join them because they're angry about that injustice. And that's almost exactly how it's playing out. And now here's the guy, Assad, who should benefit most from the bombings, saying, I am not benefiting, this is not helping, your strategy of bombing ISIS, turns out, is counterproductive. Now, will anybody in America listen to that? Look, it's easy to say, oh, he's a dictator, dismiss him. But again, he's a dictator who wants to destroy ISIS more than anyone else on the planet. So it's not like he's biased in that regard, right? So the reality is, of course, we don't want to listen to that because we think war and bombing is the only answer. And so our military-industrial complex is going to push for more and more bombing, despite the fact that we have reporting on the ground saying it's only helping ISIS, not hurting them. As Assad explains there, in the short term, yes, obviously, where the bomb lands, whoever died there, that hurts them, right? But then so many more people join in and they grow stronger and stronger. So can we please stop doing things to help ISIS? Why don't we go in the opposite direction and do a proper counterinsurgency? One that's actually smart. No, we have hammer. Everything looks like nails. Let's continue to bomb. Who cares what the result is? Bomb, bomb, bomb. That's unfortunately American policy.